Hello and welcome to Low-Code Campfire. This is episode number 248 for June 19, 2026. Today we're going to talk about custom listing templates for Bootstrap 5 and, well, anything else you want to talk about. I am Dale Warner, head of support for Plantanet, and this is a community gathering that we do most Fridays. 10 a.m. Central Time, where we get together, talk about what's going on in our projects and in Plantanet as a whole. It's open to everyone, all skill levels, and anyone interested in low code. We record all of them and put them on YouTube at youtube.com/Plantanet. So definitely want to subscribe there. Don't want to miss a thing. We run a loose agenda where we always stop and say hi because we're a friendly group, and then we go around the campfire with anything first call, anything you submitted in advance, and then we'll touch on some of these areas. But after an hour or so, we go into afterglow. That's where we turn off the recording and enjoy each other's company for a few more minutes. So do engage with us both here and in afterglow. You can submit questions, topics in advance, support@plantanet.com. I'll read those, do a little bit of research if it warrants, and put it on the agenda. We'll talk about them here. And with that, I will just say that, Mark, you timed that perfectly. You didn't have to listen to the introduction. Hello.
Hi there.
Good morning.
So we start with first call. Anybody have something you wanted to talk about today?
Don, he's talking to you.
I thought he was talking to you. No, I unfortunately don't have anything. It's been a crazy, hectic week outside of work. My only thing that I can tell you is I had to buy a new car. It's new to me. I don't particularly. I've bought a brand new car off the lot, kind of off the manufacturing's lot once or twice in my life, but normally don't. But anyway, the old one died, and I literally, almost literally, coasted into the dealer with the old car, um, and got a new one. So that took up a bunch of time, surprisingly, and it killed a couple of development projects. So I don't have any new questions. Sorry.
Well, that's okay. It is crazy how from time to time the various things of life will take over and you just can't stop it. You just have to pay some attention.
Very true. Very true.
All right. Then maybe we can start with the thing I set aside. I think it's a fun one. The people that they're not every there are people that come to this week by week that I think will be interested in watching it in replay. But let's see what this looks like. Um, yeah. Oh no, Mark, you had requested this one, so this is going to be relevant to you. Um, so a bit of history back in version, or rather in listings, in the old Bootstrap 3 with the classic uh, that you had the ability to create custom templates. So your listings didn't have to look like our listings. And that was never redeveloped um, in Bootstrap 5. I have got a nice intro slide here. Um, and so now that we're getting serious about eliminating Bootstrap 3, this existing capability needs to be created, and so we have a plan to do that. And if there's any interest, I would be happy to run through what the plan looks like. I think it's an exciting conceptually. We're just getting started on it. So first of all, anybody using custom listing templates now or wish they had?
Wish they had. Yes.
Yeah, I'm in the wish category.
Okay. So in which case, at least I mean, we have 100% interest in going through it. So let's take a look at it. Um, And this is our kind of our development ticket, and I have gone through it and made a client-facing overview so that we can understand what it would do. So the idea is that you'd be able to create and reuse your own Bootstrap-based listing layouts without having to write a view handler. And so you would no longer be limited to the views that we provide, and you can define your own. So I guess just to set the stage, let's see what. Let's bring up a listing so that we can kind of have the backdrop. Doesn't matter which one, I just want one to look at. So currently we have these views, and we have the old legacy view was the one that had the ability you could write them, but you had to, in order to do that, there was nothing within the product that where you could configure it. You'd have to get in and create some files, or at least one file. I don't know. I don't think I've ever done it, but it was possible to do. It was not that complex. You just defined a template that output those. So now we have data table, we have calendar, cards, a couple of other experimental ones. But the idea is you would be able to, there would be a new button on this page, and you'd be able to click it and create your own view layout. So that sets the stage for where this would be. So yeah, how it works. When creating a listing, you'll see a new template option in the views, and when you create it, you'll be able to put a friendly name. You'll be able to pick an icon. If you remember, when you have multiple views, that there's a switcher involved, so that icon would be used for the switcher. Many examples I can get going here. So like this has a switcher to go between a calendar events and a data table. And so this icon would be used to show here so that you could pick between views if you wanted to allow multiple views. And then the spot to fill in HTML, and we'll get into the HTML. But once you saved that, then the template would be enabled and selected for the current listing. But that template would also be visible any place else. When you go into another listing, you'd be able to use that same template to display content. They would have a custom badge to make it clear that they're custom, not ones that we're providing. There would be three main sections. So a header HTML, an item HTML, a footer HTML. So something that you want to happen at the once before everything and after everything. So then the main thing is the item HTML itself. Every row of the data would be rendered as an item. The item would look something like this, where you could put whatever HTML that you wanted, but there would be this braces syntax where you could pull any field from the data source. So it's not, it's a little bit different than the token syntax, and we can discuss why if you want, but it would be, I think, really quite accessible to be able to define these. They're not going to be hard to do. So if you had an item like this, it would render if there were three records, John and Mike and Sarah, just repeating like that. Questions so far? Interest, comments?
This looks great. I tossed in the chat, didn't mean to interrupt. I tossed in the chat just in case you wanted to take a look at this, but I'm using a data table view, but then I have to generate HTML for a bunch of calculated yeah, it's calculated so that I can get it to look like this. So there's basically two columns that I create. One is called job and one is called city. And those are everything inside there is HTML that where I have to build it myself. So it sounds to me that this custom thing would be perfect for me, is to I could lay this out like this or even better um, using the custom view.
Yep. Um, Absolutely. So you've kind of adapted to what was available as a
Right.
tool. Uh,
I never
and
used the legacy view, mostly because I didn't quite understand it, but I did understand the table and what I could do with the table. And then I just realized that, yeah, if I wrote my own HTML for computed listing elements, that I could get what I wanted it to look like.
So Dale, if you're actually putting actual field names or column names in the design, then that's a little bit less of a template than it is just a listing layout, isn't it? Because you would have to have those exact column names in the future. I guess I would boil it down to saying, why wouldn't I just copy the entire module instead of doing it like you're proposing?
copy the entire module. I'm not following your question enough to be able to answer. What do you mean?
Well, that's a sign that I didn't say it very well. So if the like first name and last name are named columns, if they're going to be in the template design, then is it really a template? Like what if I wanted to say L name and F name? Um, Instead of this method, wouldn't I just copy the entire module to a new place if I wanted to reuse that design? Like, what's the difference?
Okay. So first, I'm trying to break that apart, and I still don't think I quite get you, but realizing this is what would appear in your item definition, being able to pull the first. This would assume that there is a data called first name. In my case, it's in this illustration, it's name. So if I wanted name to appear somewhere in the template, um, I would use name here in this. So am I explaining myself clearly, tracking with me on that one?
Um, yeah, I think so, Dale. I think I would boil my question down to what is the difference between this template method versus just copying the entire module?
Oh, okay. Well, um, so creating a template would make something that would be reusable on a different view, and but you could have okay. Now I'm tracking with you. Uh, you could set up a view. Um, you could set up a listing module that you then just make a copy of and get the exact same functionality. That's your point. So how does it vary? What's the benefit of a template? Gotcha. So the benefit of the template is that a couple. One is that in a different module, you'll be able to reuse the template and it'll be here on a listing that you'll be able to turn on or turn off. So in one listing, you might use it and it'd be the only selection. Hello, Jim. We're talking about things that you've asked about before, templates in our Bootstrap 3 listing, in our Bootstrap listings. So you'll be able to turn them on or off. So one could be configured. You could have one listing configured that has the template turned on as the only thing, and another one that it might be you might also have a calendar or a data table or whatever. So you'd have differences in what you could turn on and off. And then we're anticipating that it's going to be like a card view, meaning it won't have special fields because those will be up to you to decide, but the columns per row, rows per page kind of settings will be accessible to you so that you can define how those render. I don't know if I'm any closer to answering your question.
I think you did answer the question. I can see the value of being able to switch between the multiple views. I immediately, my thoughts went to, well, I could still copy the module, but I wouldn't be able to if I had three views and I wanted only two of them in the next one, or maybe a fourth one. It wouldn't work. I would need to do it the way you're proposing. So I see the benefit there, especially in the views.
And yet it might have limited benefit from the standpoint that you're defining a template is going to deal with a very specific set of field names. So if you're trying to reuse a template view somewhere else, the listing that's coming from would also have to have those same field names.
Mm-hmm.
So there's if it didn't, they wouldn't render. And I assume they would render out blank. So you might have some ability to reuse them. And I'm not sure to what degree people will reuse a template in a different listing, but for simplicity, they'll just stay there. Behind the scenes, these are as they exist today, they're already a file on the file system. So if you knew how to create a template and where to put it, that you could add views to this now. But the complexity of adding one, I'm 99% sure I'm accurate on that. So this is going to simplify it to the extent that you can do it through the UI and focus on just the content that you want to put, like the header, item, footer, just much like other low code that we do. We're trying to simplify the complex.
Very good.
Okay.
A question, you may have said it before, but I may have missed it. How does your system handle item buttons? That for the application that I showed you, the job board, has a button on it, but I didn't create an item button because again, I needed to lay it out a custom way. So that's, literally using a button class in a computed field. So can I render, can you do the curly braces for buttons as well in your scheme?
think that's something that the definition that we have hasn't addressed yet, and I'm sure we'll want to make a plan for them. So I will make sure that it gets added. My expectation would be that you'd be able to define where to put your buttons by name.
Right. Yeah,
That
that
would make
details
sense.
button is literally a again HTML. It's just a link to the page with the ID equals that ID.
Right. Um, so going back to this, so we've already identified that you'll be able to use that braces syntax to pull in names. It would make sense to me that we would use the braces syntax to pull in buttons, and that then they would render there. But I'll make sure to bring that up because I'm not sure we've addressed it in our definition.
Cool. Cool. Great.
So then there, and I will admit to not completely understanding it or being able to, I'm not sure I can explain it well, but there's a front end, back end kind of thing that happens with rendering this that ends up impacting tokens. And so when we look at these using this syntax, the double curly braces syntax to choose this, we intentionally got away from tokens for this purpose because tokens will be rendered on they're a back end kind of thing and would end up happening once per row. So if you added a token date time now into this, that it would render the same or it would render the same value for every row. So you will have accessibility to do tokens in this, but there are once per backend. They're not a per row function or a per listing function. So if you want per row tokens, you would end up needing to use a add computed field where you could build up a field that would have, for example, if you wanted to call a data token to retrieve some value, and you were passing the ID of the item as a token parameter, you would do it by creating a computed field and then including the computed field in your template.
Okay.
That could work.
It's not hard. It's just making sure we explain it well so that you know when not, you know, if you want to use a token, knowing when to use it, where to use it.
That computes.
Okay, good. So then, yeah, that was trying to cover it here. Yeah, that's why I just explained computed field in order to use a row per row token. So there'll be the ability to edit an existing template. The template name is actually a file name. So you'll define a template name, and that is an internal thing that won't ever be able to be changed. You'll be able to delete them, just realizing, and you'll see a warning, but if you delete a template from, I mean, it is a repository of views. So if you delete a template from a view, if you delete a template view, it's going to be deleted for all. And so anything, if it's in use elsewhere, it'll impact it elsewhere as well. So you'll just have to know what you have and where it's being used. But with that, then you'll have still access to all the same kinds of things, search and filters and root buttons, and being able to switch views, being able to the pagination that you get with listing. Toolbar actions. I don't know. Oh, yeah, the ability to
Sort?
yes. Sorting might be tricky because we're not going to generate headers, so sort might be a question. I appreciate you letting me explain this to you because it raises questions that can happen pre-development. All right, so that's where we're intending to go. Our intention is to have this available in 128 so that if anybody is using a custom template in Bootstrap 3, that you can convert it to a Bootstrap 5 custom template before going to the next version, which, by the way, we've decided that it's going to be version 2.0 is our next after 1.28. And so by making it available there's going to be something to convert to, and then in 2.0, the Bootstrap 3 stuff goes away completely.
So Dale, are you saying that the front end for designing one of these templates will be inside each action listing? I'm sorry, each listing?
Right. There'll be a new template button someplace here. So you go into a listing and click new template, and you'll be able to create it right here.
That seems like that would be a little break in operation protocol. Being able to build something for all listings inside an individual listing. I think, is it safe to say that all of the settings that are in a listing now only pertain to that particular listing? I guess it popped up in my head because you said, if you delete one of these templates, you have to be aware. And I thought, oh my gosh, I could break other listings while working on one. And I thought, well, that could be worked out. You guys could do a little quiz to see if the template's being used elsewhere. But that does seem to be a break in operations where you're doing something here that could influence a whole bunch of other listings.
Yes, I don't think so. Good point. I don't think that we have. I'm trying to think if there's a case where we do general configuration like of something that impacts all modules of that class. So for example, forms don't have any settings that are defined outside of forms. So from I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think I agree with you. From a UI perspective, this is a new thing, being able to configure new custom templates that make them available elsewhere. And you could argue that there's a place that you could make a separate configuration module that would clearly indicate would impact everything. Global settings might be the the concept.
Well, this is why software development is difficult. Yeah, there's a lot of decisions about stuff like that, and trying to predict the way people would mentally approach stuff at the same time. There's psychology.
No.
I would be just happy if it were called a custom view and drop templates, since people think of different things with template, and a custom view definition is specific to the listing that it's in, and that if I needed to go and move it somewhere else, I would just go into that listing, grab the HTML for the header, footer, and item, and drop it in somewhere else in a new custom view, and then I wouldn't worry about anything that Mark just said with the, oh, did I delete this file and now I broke 3 other listings?
Um, I'm pretty sure that the reasoning behind it being not a per module thing is that behind the scenes there, uh, much like okay, if you think about in forms, there's the ability to create a custom validator, and the functionality is that if you drop a particularly nicely formatted file in a particular folder, that validator is available to all forms after that. And so it's following that pattern. It's dropping a file in a particular folder that is then available to all listings.
Oh, okay.
So it's consistent with our patterns. The difference is that we're providing UI for it now, making it easy for you to do rather than something esoteric to do.
Then
But
again, now I'm confused because when you have a validator, um, is it per a particular? It's not per a particular field, but a particular field type. Um, and so it would work if you go from form to form and say, I want to use the validator on that field type, on that new field I created. But in this case, since the fields that are defined are fields that are defined in this listing, um, now I guess I'm confused. But again, you guys are the designers, and it's cool however it comes out.
well, and one of the reasons that I'm talking about it today is to just explore it a little bit more and get feedback before we build something. And you guys say, "Why did you do it that way?" Um, I suspect that we could designate I mean, it's within the realm of possibility to designate um, a custom file to be connected only to one view, but that would involve then having to, I mean, you say, oh, well, I could just redo that in another one, but to have it be nice, you'd want it to be able to export from one and import to the other instead of redoing all the work. So uh, anyway,
Yeah.
I'll bring these things for discussion some more so that we can do the thing that makes the most sense. I wouldn't anticipate that there's going to be 100 custom views that are going to be real confusing between, one and another. So if it's there and you don't turn it on, it doesn't hurt anything. I think jumping back, Mark, to your point that we should be able to warn you on delete that it's in use elsewhere.
That would be helpful.
And I'm thinking maybe we uh, don't allow deletion if it's enabled anywhere. So, until you go turn them all off, and it wouldn't allow you to delete it. That would be my ideal, which actually solves a problem because we would have to it would either break your listings or we would fall back to data table or something like that if you deleted something. And for us to define something to fall back to, it might be just as easy to just make sure it's not in use.
Mm-hmm.
Great.
Another
Go, go.
confusion I guess I have is that, all right, so if I build a custom layout for that job board I showed you, and then I have another application on the site and I build another custom listing for that, so it looks different for that, and then I have two or three others. When I come back to the job board and look at the listings, the view tab, I'm going to see all of my custom listings in a list there, along with table and calendar and cards. So all my customs would be similar to what you have there, but my customs are all listed there one after the other.
Yes.
Got it.
So you would have a description for what they are, right? In the it would have a friendly name and description, so which would appear. So its name and description would appear here as well as a badge that says that it's custom. So you could name it to say this is for the job board versus this is for something else.
Got it. I would like to be very specific because if I give somebody else the ability to do some of this work as well, now I have to communicate to them, don't go changing this.
Yes.
Got it. Got it. Got it. Okay.
There's another dissonance for me, Dale, and if your job board or your custom template is in this list of views and you open up or make a new action grid with totally different data source, you're still going to have a view here that you couldn't possibly use. It seems like it's a break again from the established pattern. Like all of these views, if it's in this list, you could apply to the data that you're working in. Whereas if the template as it's been described so far would only work for a certain data set and structure.
And so we touched a minute ago on the idea that we could take the direction that a custom view is defined locally, defined only to the module. Which if we did that, then you wouldn't be faced with that.
Yeah, I think you just one new view called custom. And that's it.
Okay.
You can fill
Well,
it
I'm
in.
with you.
Now I can copy the internals of it to the next action grid I create. But I wouldn't see three or four things there that I wouldn't ever use, or for that matter, one of my people that can go in there and look at it, say, "Oh, I'll do this," and then break things.
I'm mostly agreeing with you. Going to push back on one thing. You mentioned the possibility of having just one custom view. You might want two custom views or multiple for one that you could switch between, depending on your use, right? So if you have a job board and you want to see it in cards versus a more vertical layout, you might want to be able to switch between them. So you could define two views for the same.
Yeah, that is true. That is true.
Much like you see a shopping experience where you want to view them in grids or rows.
Right. That does make sense. So yeah, maybe create a new custom view, but then they'd be custom to this listing only.
Right. And again, I suspect that our developers could find a nice way to make a view only available to a module. it opens up the problem that modules, if you copy the module, does the view happen importing? Maybe does the view go with it? How do we make sure the view goes with it? So there's complexity there. And
I was
also,
going to suggest that if you had the view, the custom view um, at the local level, if you were just able to use that export import functionality of just the view, leave it up to the developer to figure out where he wants to import it into. But maybe that may be too much of a develop. And when I say developer, I'm thinking of on our side of the keyboard as opposed to.
yeah, a low-code engineer, maybe we call them you guys.
Right.
Yep. So I think these things are worth talking about. They add complexity to the development side. If it were, I think we're going to have to make a decision between, how big a problem is it really? And I'm just going to ask it, right, as a question. If the custom views show up in every listing, how big of a problem is it really, versus and
I don't think it's that big a problem. I would set my convention to have some sort of naming if it's got a special data set and couldn't be used everywhere. I mean,
just throwing out ideas. I think that I think part of what if I understand the development piece of this, there is a file on a disk that gets created somewhere that is the custom template, and our default mechanism is to say, look at all the files in this folder, and that's what we present as views on this views listing. And maybe we could go with a convention more like, look for the standard ones out there. The custom ones only get displayed if they're connected to this particular module. So now we have an ability to, when you create a new view, it creates the connection. We just have in this module, we have a reference that causes it to bring it in, and then it wouldn't appear on other modules. And so that might there might be a nice, easy way to not have it appear everywhere. I'll bring it up to the team. But because that also then opens up the possibility, if you do want to reuse it, that you could just go to another listing and connect it to the file. Am I babbling or making sense?
That makes sense. Dale, I'm generally in favor of what you're doing, giving us the ability to make a custom template. I think that's going to be very useful.
Plus
cool,
one
and I
on
appreciate it. Good. What?
Plus one on that.
All right. Yeah, so trying to find the right balance between, much like any of the features that we do, there's the possible and the perfect. And if we aim for the perfect, we never deliver anything. So we know we want to provide this. I think in this early stage, there's still room to influence it. And again, that's why I brought it up. So Your feedback is valued. We may not be able to do everything, but we will certainly take it into consideration. I think there is an answer here somewhere. Not being a developer, I can't promise anything. Cool.
Cool.
All right. Since we've had a couple more of you join, I'll throw out is there anything particular that you wanted to cover today? Or move on to, I don't know what else. Okay.
Is there any
Bill-
thoughts on from 128 to 2.0? Do you want to get everything up to 128 before you jump to 2.0, or can you jump from 127 to 2.0, or thoughts like that?
We are pretty solid in the idea that there will not be the ability to jump from one version to 2+.
Got it.
It will always be, you got to upgrade. So, and I guess that's a good point. I think, let's take a look at it. Remember, I think 128 at this point is the only officially supported. So 127, the support for that was June 16th. So 127 officially fell off of the support. Not that we won't take your calls, of course, but you really do want to try to get to 128, and you will have to get to 128 before you go to 2.0.
Got it.
From a okay, so I've been on your side of the chair probably more of this relationship, probably more years than I've been on this side, and so I always look at .0 releases with a little bit of suspicion. How fast do I want to upgrade to the bleeding edge? And so I'll at some later point, I'll bring to you the major things that are happening, but so that you can make your judgment on that. I think the big designator, big reason why we decided this is there's two really big things that are happening that justify an advance in the major release. One is that we're introducing our new forms product. It's out now for limited beta, but it will be out. It will be included or available as part of as 2.0. And so action form continues to exist. The ability action form isn't going away, so there's no risk of it's just if you have Forms 2.0, it's a new product and you can start moving in that direction. But I wouldn't consider it a risk to say that should I be concerned about the version. And then the other major thing that's going on is the removal of Bootstrap 3. And so that's the piece that you're going to have to work at during version 1.28 or before to get rid of your use of Bootstrap 3. And so I wouldn't anticipate, if you've gone through that episode, that effort to get rid of Bootstrap 3, I wouldn't anticipate instability in 2.0. We've taken a look at this before, but if you haven't seen it, or people watching in replay, this dashboard is getting better and better. and we're adding more and more things to it. And so the identification of are you ready for version 2.0 is going to happen here. So these, for example, now we're seeing that if you have Bootstrap 3 forms showing up in your dashboard, that the attempt to upgrade to version 2.0 will stop. It will say you can't go there until you fix your Bootstrap 3 items. So the dashboard is connected to your ability to upgrade, and so and your ability to find these things in the first place. So we're getting more and more cohesive in that. Any questions on that? Concerns?
No, makes sense.
Okay. Nothing new in our documentation. I saw there was some community stuff happening, and I think, Mark, you were involved in trying to help answer a question that was out here. So,
Yeah, I'd like to know if you're familiar with that action that he's talking about. I don't think have ever used it before.
dark corner. He's using save file action to do stuff. Let's look at save file action.
Wes just posted something this minute.
Well, so I'm glad that Wes's problem was solved. Still worth taking a look at save file. So if we had a button and we had a save, if we could type. So the save file lets you pick a file from a URL, a text, or a base64. So if you had a download URL, I suspect that's what he's using in his case. I've got a URL that I want to get it from, and you'd be able to specify it here. And then what does this do? This action allows text to be saved to a specified portal folder. So we're going to put it, you could use an expression to put it somewhere, or you could pick it from your list of wherever you want to put it and name it however you want to name it. So, and then I see in his response into Amazon S3. So it sounds like he enabled our S3 provider, and then which brings a folder onto the file system. So now you'd be able to move it. So sounds like a really great, sounds like he was able to solve this really well. Going back to the original question, one DNN site to another. So I wonder if he's enabled the same Amazon AWS folder to on two different sites, which is certainly possible. So that's an interesting way to go about that. Also, just another use case for this might be if you're tired of having all your files on your website and serving them from your site and backing them up continually and whatever, that turning on S3 and moving files to S3 could be done through what's discussed on this one.
Right, okay.
So interesting. Cool.
I have a situation where I could use something like that, I guess. I'm not positive, but I've got a some large files that when the customer uploads them, they take a long time because Azure's provider is very slow. It's got a caching issue. So it takes forever to upload them, and it's very frustrating to the client. So I have it now so that the file uploads directly to the server. It's much quicker, but that does clog up the website, and would love to move it offline. And
Yeah,
so something like that would be good, but that probably tied to a workflow, tied to some kind of tied automation to run later on.
exactly. Sounds very doable where you've got a queue somewhere. Everything that's on this in this folder needs to be moved somewhere else, and the pointers updated appropriately, whatever you're doing. That you could run into at 2 in the morning when nobody cares. It would always be accessible, but it would move at some point. So, yep,
Right.
very
Yeah.
doable. I haven't put anything in the campfire, having been gone last week and just catching up this week. But oh my goodness, this link will not open. There it is. Let's make sure that nobody else has put something in here. Nope, not since the last month, so that's safe. So now we're, I think, at last call. Is there anything you want to talk about before we jump into our afterglow segment? All right, well, let's do that. I will thank you all for joining and for listening and for your suggestions. I think that our custom view will be better because we talked about it today. So thanks for that. If you have a minute, hang around for Afterglow. Thanks all. See you next week.